Okay, so more Pro Tools goodness. Go to Options menu and Edit Window Scrolling, because by default this is on no scrolling. I like it on page, and what that does, I'll show you. So when it's off, here's what happens when you play towards the end of the track on the window right here. Feed, because of the feed. You know what? I have to disable pre-roll. And now, because of the way I have things set up with this program, nothing happens. Because of the way I have things set up with this. Once it goes past that, nothing happens. Because of the way I have things set up. But if I go to Options, Edit Window, Page, because of the way I have things set up with this. That's what I like. Because of the way I have things set up with. Because of the way I have. That's the behavior I like when playing back audio and recording. That to me should be the default, but whatever, I'm not avid. If you want to add tracks that are already recorded, hold Control, Shift, and press I. And now I have to blur this out. But this is how you import, and the other way to do this is File menu, Import. It's as easy as that. You can drag and drop files from Windows Explorer. However, they have to match the file type or the project type. Otherwise, it says, nope, I don't like it. All right, now here's the all-important zoom controls. First of all, hold the Alt key, and with the mouse scroll wheel, go up and down. That's what I like. Too bad it's not that by default, but that's fine, because guess what? The other thing you can do is hold Shift, and this allows you to horizontally move through the timeline. So again, Shift, and Alt zooms in and out, along with the mouse scroll wheel. If you want to just scroll to your entire timeline to the end, hold Shift, and then double click the zoom tool up here. And now we're zoomed out. And I already showed you guys this, but if you want to zoom your waveforms, there's this button right here, which is actually two buttons in one. And this allows the waveform view, just the waveforms. You're not zooming anything else, just the waveforms to be bigger. And this is good for editing purposes. Again, you're not making your tracks louder, it's just zooming in the waveform. Or zooming out. I can make them super small, but I don't want that. To mute a track, click the M, or to solo the track, hit the S. To mute everything, hold Alt. Again, to add a plugin, you just simply left click right here. If you can't see inserts, click this. You know, right now it's gone. Click inserts, and then click right here. Plugin, let's add the 7-band equalizer. And if you want to bypass the plugin, while it's open, you can actually click right here. But if this is closed for some reason, just Control and click right here, and it turns blue. Or right click it and choose bypass. But if you want to save a click, then you just hold Control and click and bypass to your heart's content. And again, to delete it, right click on the left side here and choose no insert. Unfortunately, if you delete a plugin, you cannot undo that action. If you want to do a sidechain for like a compressor plugin, let me add a compressor first. There is this, which is called no key input, and you click that, look for the key icon, and then what you want to do is basically you set it up on a bus. So let's do bus 9. And then let's say my key input is going to be my keyboard. So on my keyboard track, I'm going to set up a send. So I'll come here and show the sends. And then under sends on the keyboard, click that. And what was it? Bus what? Bus 9. So my output on here on the send will be bus 9. And then I'll make sure my signal is as high as I want it by alt-clicking the fader. But yeah, it's that simple. And now this, if there was a waveform playing, would trigger the compressor instead of the actual track, the internal sidechain. This is external sidechain. And I'll delete that for now. And also delete the send. If you want to get rid of a send, left click the left side there and do no send. And also no send there. And I'm going to get rid of the sends. The other way you can do this is go to View, Edit Window, and then let's get rid of the sends right there. And again, Alt clicking gets rid of it as well. Alright, now panning. I actually like panning on the mix window. So I'm going to hit Control equals. And then we have our pan knob right here. And I can go left or all the way right. And if I want to get precise, the way you do that, and this goes for pretty much all the controls in Pro Tools, you hold down the Control key and you can get very precise with the numbers. See that? If I want to get 0, I can get 0. Otherwise, if I'm not holding Control, it's a little bit harder to get exactly on 0. But also, if I want to reset it, I'll hold Alt and click it, and I'm reset to the default. Now, on your stereo tracks, you have 2 pan knobs. So let's say I wanted to get something just on the left side. I can do that, which is pretty cool. And that comes in handy for panning purposes. You know, if you only had one knob, you know, it's not really going to help you very much. Having 2 knobs, you know, the left one controlling your top channel, your left channel, and the right one controlling your right channel. And you can put things right where they need to be. And I already talked about this, but the fader is right here. Again, I can hold Control and precisely do it. If I hit Alt and click it, it goes back to 0. And that's about it for that. Alright, let's go back to the edit window. And I'm going to talk about editing briefly here. So the main thing you want to remember is this section up here, okay? It's where your tools are. I just put it back on the Smart tool by clicking this bar up here. I can, you know, go through these little tools right here individually, but if I want the Smart tool, which usually I do want, I click that, and that allows me to, depending on where my mouse arrow is resting, it'll, you know, change to this eye looking icon, or it'll change to the hand. If I'm on the edge, it'll change to this bracket on either side. So the Smart tool is one of the best things Avid added to Pro Tools. The other thing you want to concern yourself with is what mode you're in. Right now we're in slip mode, but we can also do grid mode, spot, and shuffle. So basically, shuffle is when you want to edit something, say a voiceover, because what it does is it locks down the tracks. And it allows you to really do... Oh, speaking of editing, if you want to add in an edit, and I'll edit this little gap out right here. So what I'll do is I'll click right here and hit Control and then E, and then Control E here. Let's say I made a mistake. I didn't want to do that. Well, obviously you can hit Control Z, and that gets rid of it. As I was saying, grid mode is actually what I like to use. I'm either using grid or shuffle usually when editing. So I'll actually go to shuffle this time, and I'll hit Control E, and then with the grabber, click that and press delete, and that moves everything over. Again, if I didn't want to do that, then slip mode is what I want, because if I hit delete, everything stays where it is. Grid mode, I like it because when you're dragging clips around, it'll either snap to it or it'll snap to the bars right here. And by the way, if you want to get rid of the bars, if you want to get rid of the grid, click this grid button right here, and there goes your grid. Usually I want the one that doesn't really distract me, but if you want to get rid of it, it is there. Now let's say if you're in grid mode and you don't want it to snap to the grids, then hold the Control key and drag that way. And if I wanted to trim the edges right here, see where I had the edge and it turns to the bracket? So I'm going to click and drag, and again I'll hold Control so I can get it right where I want it. and then click that. If you want to add a fade in, fade out, there's a few ways to do it. The first way is to go to the upper right part of your clip, click and drag. Actually, let me find a better spot than this. This one's getting beat up. Okay, so I'll go to the end, and then see that? I'm actually going to trim this first. So I'll do that. I'll get out of grid mode, and then upper right, click, drag, and it adds the fade. If you want to change the fade shape, and you'll see what I mean in a second, go to the middle here and see how it changes back to the fader icon. Click and then drag around, up and down, left and right, and it actually changes how things are. Now there's another way to do this, and this is very useful when you want to select multiple clips to fade them all out at the same time. So actually, let me record something right here with space. Check. All right, so what I want to do is click here, and what I'm doing is actually shift clicking, and see how if I click here, even if I click over here, if I'm holding shift, it'll put the two things right there. So this allows me to do easier editing. So if I hit Control E, I can do two edits right there, and that's useful for other things as well. But what I want to do right now is fade these out together. So I'm going to move it over there like that, and then select both of these at the same time and hit Control F. This brings up my fader dialog. I can choose from all these different options. And then hit OK. And that fades multiple tracks together. Again, in case you missed it, I move it over and then select over here. See how it changed to the eye? Click, drag down, and then I'll make my fade just on the end right here. And then Control F, hit OK after you select your options. And there you go. Let's play it back and hear what it sounds like. Recording now. Check. If you want to time stretch a piece of audio, first of all, I'm going to undo that. And let's say I want to slow it down. Well, this is where you need to change your tools. And so what you want to do right here, where it says Trim Tool, click and hold that and change it to TCE. This stands for time compression / expansion. And what it allows you to do is if I click and drag the edge here and go left, it'll speed it up. And you'll hear that right now. Oh, no, you won't because it's muted. Let's check. Let's check. And then if I want it to slow it down, I'll hit undo and then drag it to the right to expand the track. With check. Now, you can only stretch it so much. You can compress it as much as you want because you're speeding up material, but when you slow material down, that's where it runs into artifacting issues. And that's actually why I recommend to record at 96 kilohertz, because you can stretch out your audio a lot more when you have more data points for Pro Tools to sample from. There's a newer time stretch option in Pro Tools. And by newer, I think they added it like 6 or 7 years ago. But what you want to do is in this section, look for polyphonic. You're going to left click that and choose from these different options. For voices, you want to do monophonic. For drums or other percussion, you do rhythmic. And if you're doing a lot of speed changes, vary speed is what you want. But I'll do monophonic for right now. And let's say I did want to change the speed of things at different points in time. What you want to do first is right where it says waveform, click that. And then go to analysis. And then you'll see that has all these different little lines that it analyzed, that Pro Tools put in itself. Now I can alt click and delete these different lines if I wanted to. And in order to do that, I had to change it to the Smart tool first. Okay, and I'm at the bottom. You see where it's changing it to the little pointer. And then also I can move it around. And what these things will do, you'll see in a second, is it allows me to change the speed from all these different points in time. If you want to add one, then hold Control and double click. And then again, to moving them around, the icon changes to the double arrows. Now, what you want to do is go back to where it used to say waveform, and right now it says analysis. Click that and change it to warp. And then the way you want to move these around is actually to hold shift and then drag with these different ones. Let's listen to what I did to it. Check. Yeah. What a work of art, right? And then when I'm done, put it back on waveform. Check. If you really want to mess with somebody, a fellow audio engineer that you might be working with, do that. And they'll be like, what's up with my audio, man? Another way to manipulate pitch, and I'll select something different now. Control E to make my little edit. And what I'm going to do is right click, go to elastic properties. The other way to do this is the clip menu, elastic properties, and then you change the pitch shift right here. If you want it to be more precise, as usual, hold Control.
I like that feature. Very cool.
I like that feature. Very cool.
One other way to do this, I'll zoom out.
I like that feature.
Let me make sure this is changed back to where it was. I like that feature. Very cool. You want to first select what you want to change. Go to Audio Suite, Pitch Shift, and then Time Shift. And we have more options here for different manipulation. If you want to reverse a clip, then go to Audio Suite, Other, and Reverse. And then hit Render. Well, if you want to preview it, hit this first. This little speaker icon. And if you like that, hit Render. And there you go. If you want to add a marker, well, first of all, let me get rid of this. If you want to add a marker, it's right up here. Go to the time that you want to add the marker and click plus right here. And then name it. We'll call it marker 1. And then choose your selections. I'll just keep it as is. And that's about it. Hit OK. And there's your marker. If you ever want to modify it, double click it. To freeze a track, go over here to this snowflake icon and click the freeze button. In order to do that, I actually need to have a plugin on, so let me do that. And that should do it. Click the snowflake. It'll render your track, and that frees up CPU. Clip volume is not in Pro Tools first, but you can kind of fake it by changing this from waveform to volume, and then I'm going to hold nothing actually, just drag this up and down. And while I'm on this topic, let's talk about automation. Automation is where controls change over a set period of time at your manual setting. So there's nothing automatic about automation, but it's just called that because, well, actually that's not correct. Automation is automatic once you set the parameters. So to add automation, you click this arrow right here, and that adds what's called an automation lane. Now we can click this where it says volume and choose from all kinds of different things, including the plugins. Yes, the plugins have their own parameters that can be manipulated. Let's do pan. Nobody likes to do pan. I'll do pan since everybody does volume. So let's choose pan. And then what you're going to do is you have a few ways to automate. The first way is to add in different little controls. And you do that with the pencil tool right here. And now that that's selected, let's do freehand for now. So if I click somewhere, let me expand this. So if I click somewhere, it adds in a point. And if I click somewhere else, it adds in another point and adds a bunch of points in. The other one that I like is called line. So if I click that and then click, I'll do one right here. And then up here. And then once I do that, I can go back to the smart tool and then bring this up and down. See how it changes to the hand? What I can do is I can hit the Alt key and click on one of these little dots and it deletes it. Or if I want it to change, the pan position, and hold Shift and Control at the same time so I can go up and down very precisely. Very cool, right? Now if I just hold Shift, I can go a lot faster. But Shift and Control at the same time allows for very precise movements. And I can also just hold Control for specific left and right movements. So yeah, automation's cool. Now, another way to do it is to go to, I could do it here, but it's a little bit easier to do here. Control equals for my mix window. And what I'm going to do, what was that? What tracks has the automation? The voiceover track. Okay. So voiceover track, what I want to do is click where it says auto read, change this to write, and now it is in write mode. So anytime I move this, it will change. And all I gotta do is hit play. I can't hear anything. Is there anything on there? Oh. There should have been. So this actually automatically goes to auto latch once you're finished. So I gotta put it back on auto write and hit play.
And now we're doing half speed. And I'm going to play it back.
So I'm going to get rid of that because guess what? The click track's coming through my vocal feed because of the way I have things set up with this program. And I'm going to hit, so I'm going to space. So it goes back to latch mode. And we're going to see what I just did. Ugh. But there's my automation. Don't forget to change this back to auto read once you're finished.